Hi, welcome to Ready Ragnar Racing. So this is going to be a preview video for tomorrow, Saturday the 22nd of July. I'm going to be putting this video up early because due to travelling and travelling later today and time restraints, tomorrow I'm not going to be able to put it up any later once the prices are out. So this is going up before these races are generally priced in the market at this moment in time. So interesting weekend ahead, difficult weekend ahead. I think what makes it difficult is anybody who does any punting on a serious basis on horse racing knows the one thing you don't want is invariable weather. You spend all your time working out something on a certain weather and certain ground, and then the weather completely changes that, and that's what we've got probably this weekend. It's what we had last weekend. So I think you've always got to be a little bit cautious on weekends like this. There's a lot of rain forecast, places like Newbury and Newmarket. Newmarket's a bizarre little microclimate place at the best of times. It has habits of missing everything even though it's local, and it has habits of having quite large kind of thunderstorms as well. So my advice would be to probably play quite late tomorrow, wait and see what the weather is doing and how it may affect the ground. But on to the racing. I mean, the two big races, I suppose, really is the Irish Oaks and the Wetherby Super Sprint. I haven't really got any previews for those, to be honest. I mean, Irish Oaks, Group 1 races, you tend to know quite a bit about the horses. The form's there in the book in a lot of cases, even though these are still young, improving fillies. But, a lot of what I do is about kind of finding value in the market, and you tend not to be able to find so much value in those type of races, I find. So no real kind of opinion on the Irish Oaks. And as for the Wetherby Super Sprint, I mean, it's a bit of a minefield race, to be honest. I tend not to really back many 2-year-olds. You know, the 2-year-olds, they can change a lot from run to run in terms of form, and the prospect of working through a 22 runner Wetherby Super Sprint 2-year-old race is not particularly appealing. So yeah, 2-year-old racing is not really my thing. I tend to like to maybe wait towards the back end of the season, maybe more so in the group races in the 2-year-olds and the nurseries, but I wouldn't really have an opinion on this. But into the races I am going to look at. I thought the interesting card tomorrow was probably Newmarket, to be honest. I thought there was a couple of really good handicaps at Newmarket. Looking at the first race would be the 340. Really competitive handicap, lots of old faces in here who we know well. I think your 3-year-olds are probably like to be favourite. Havana Blue's going for a hat-trick, he's going to be popular. Stepped up to a mile actually, and not convinced that's going to be as preferable as 7 furlongs. But I've got him in about the 4-1 mark, and then you've got Saxton King, who's also got bits and pieces of good 3-year-old form. I've got him in around 13-2 at this moment in time. However, the one I'm really interested in here is Indemnify for Alice Haynes. Still lightly raced horse this. I think he's 2 runs at Sandown this year, been really good runs. The first one, I think, picking up Helm Rock. I mean, Helm Rock goes well on that course. He's a really well handicapped horse, Helm Rock. Well, I say a well handicapped horse. He runs to a really high handicap level on a consistent basis. So I think if you're beating Helm Rock, then you're achieving quite a good level of handicap form, in my opinion. So I like that run then. Changed hands since then, gone to Alice Haynes, and then had a run in a quite a competitive little handicap back at Sandown a couple of weeks after that. I thought he was a little bit unlucky last time, not unlucky in respect of that it should have won, but unlucky in respect of it got bumped quite early on. He actually got a couple of bumps quite early on down the back straight at Sandown, which meant he got a little bit lit up and it was a bit keen as well. Lost position, he went back a couple of lengths from where his starting position was next to Perotto in that race. That whole weekend at Sandown seemed to have quite slow kind of front running times really, where the horses in behind were making up a lot of ground. I mean, Dutch Decoy again ran a cracker there, making up a lot of ground from behind, and he's in here today as well. But I just found Indemnify was a little bit lucky the way the race panned out, and was still there at the finish, competing in what is quite a hot handicap. I'd argue probably a stronger piece of form than maybe we're looking at in this handicap here, with Perotto winning that and Uzo runs well at Sandown as well. So I do quite like Indemnify. They've put the hood on tomorrow, I noticed, first time hood. That may be a result of it being a bit keen last time out at Sandown, but as I say, I think it was more keen because it just got knocked about a bit and a bit lit up. So the hood, I'm not really taking it as too much of a positive, but I don't really see it being a negative either. But I think it'll run well here tomorrow. I think it's a good little race, but I do think there's more to come from this horse. It's got a nice pedigree, some good horses on that dam side, come through that dam side of the pedigree. And I quite fancy him tomorrow. I've got him in at 11-2. I think we might get a bit bigger than that. If this was 7-1 plus, I'd be tempted to go each way as well. I think 7-1 plus is a really good each way price. If he was around where I've got him, 11-2, I'd probably want about 6s, 13-2 ideally, and I'd probably back it outright at that price. So that's the first tip. Second, we move on to the 5.25 at Newmarket. Another really competitive little handicap. Again, lots of old faces in here who we know well. I thought Star of Orion would probably be favourite. Such a really good form level, Star of Orion. However, probably I might be being a little unkind here, but maybe doesn't really like winning that much. Only 2 wins for a horse of his ability in 22-23 starts is a little bit disappointing, I would say. But he's probably going to run his race. I mean, I've got him in around the 4-1 mark. I'd say this is probably a little bit of a downgrade for him as well, but he's not the one I'm actually that interested in. This is where I'm keen that the ground stays quite quick at Newmarket tomorrow, I'm hoping, because I think that improves my horse's chance in this. I like Mitro's on Fire here for the Willie Moore and Chris Grassick stable. I presume this is named after the Fulham striker, so in real life Mitro's in a bit of a sulk at the minute, to be honest. But as for the horse, I think the horse is coming to the boil nicely. I think this horse normally needs 2 or 3 runs to find his level and find his level of form, and I think we've had those couple of runs this year, and I just think if you watch those runs, he just looks like a horse who's coming into form to me. He's got form on the July course. He actually beat Star of Orion on the July course here last year. They had a good little race, those two between them. I think he's on a mark that he's very capable of winning off. So he's kind of handicapped on mark that will see him run well. As I say, I think quicker ground is more to his liking. Although he's got bits and pieces on good to soft, but I think quicker ground improves his chances, in my opinion. And I wouldn't be surprised if he's a little bit overlooked in the market tomorrow. I mean, I've got him in at 5-1 second favourite. But yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me if you got 13-2, 7-1 on this fella. And to be honest, if he was about that price, I probably would back him each way, because I think he's just certain to run his race. Like the jockey, I think Lewis Edmonds is a good underrated jockey. As I say, like the trainer as well. As of the others, this is the kind of race where you probably do need to play a little bit late because of the weather, because you've got horses in here like Final Watch. I mean, Final Watch has really good, strong Newmarket form and likes cutting the ground. I've got Final Watch in at the minute as a 15-2 chance, based on it being good to firm. If you get rain at Newmarket throughout the day, Final Watch suddenly becomes a 4-1 chance, and it changes the market. So you've got to be a little bit wary and take a little bit of kind of cautious approach in markets like that, I would say. As of the others, I mean, Nazarka's a dangerous horse on good to firm ground, likes to get on the front end, good form here. If it does quicken up through the day, he could be dangerous, but as I say, I think Mitro's on Fire is a better horse, so I'd be more confident there. Candle of Hope could be popular, 3-year-old. Got bits. I find his form a little bit hard to assess, to be honest. I can see why it'd be popular based on that run at Ascot and probably coming back to 7 furlongs. But he's taken on some good seasoned handicappers here, and I'm not sure he's going to be quite ready for these, if I'm totally honest, tomorrow. But yeah, so as I say, Mitro's on Fire would be the one for me. Quite keen on him tomorrow, certainly if the ground stays dry. And yeah, I would say 13-2 above, back it each way, because I just think he'll run your race for you. Okay, on to Newbury. I found the Newbury card a little bit difficult, if I'm honest. Wasn't a huge amount that stood out there for me. I thought the last race was interesting, the 5:20 Fillies handicap. You got someone in here like Don't Tell Claire. I mean, Don't Tell Claire's a fantastic mare. This horse just doesn't run a bad race. It runs its race all the time. Probably it seems to love Ascot. It seems to save its best for Ascot. Buick book tomorrow, which is a positive sign. Like the stable, I think the Kublers are a really good outfit. I think they place their horses really well. Probably a little bit surprised with this horse is for a horse who always runs to such a consistent level. They've put pieces on her this season in her 2 runs, and she's actually ran quite well in them, and probably even produced career best. And now tomorrow they're going first time blinkers, I think, tomorrow, which is a little bit interesting for a horse who is so consistently good as she is. I think the race probably almost works its way around her. I think she's probably the yardstick and the benchmark to work it around. I mean, I've got her at 5-1, but I think the question is she going to be able to give the best part of a stone to improving 3-year-olds? I think she's certain to run a race, but she's probably not the one I'd go for. I suspect Rawaya will be favourite. You've done nothing wrong. It's definitely going to be favourite. Actually, you look, if it beat Mystic Pearl, who's come out and I think won a listed race since. I don't think Mystic Pearl was asked a great deal, to be honest. If I'm behind Rawaya that day, and Rawaya probably got first run on her as well. So whilst I wouldn't knock the form, I probably wouldn't give it the boost that many will. So I expect Rawaya to be favourite. I wouldn't have her any shorter than 4-1 personally. I think she will be though. I think she'll probably be more like the 3-1 mark. But the one I'm interested in is Orchid Bloom for the Haggis and Marcan team. Personal opinion, I think Tom Marcan is the best jockey in the UK in my opinion on the flat. So it's always a positive to have Tom Marcan on side. And the thing I like about this horse is just gradual progression with every run. Liked its debut win on soft ground last year as a 2-year-old. Came out first time this year at Chester. I wouldn't say it was unlucky, but I think the winner probably had the opportunity to build up momentum around the bend better than Orchid Bloom did. Orchid Bloom was trapped in a little bit of a minor pocket. I don't think it was really had the gun put to its head in that race, to be honest, either. I think it just kind of stayed on quite nicely to the line, and the winner of that race has actually gone on and won again since. Steps up to a mile here. I think it's crying out for this. I mean, he's by far's a bit more of a stallion influenced kind of sire, so I think a mile's probably might even be it might be this horse's optimum, or it might even want to go up to 10 furlongs potentially, but I think a mile's fine for now. This is going to be the stiffest test of his career so far, certainly on a stamina basis, and I think he's going to excel for it. Again, I thought he ran reasonably well that next time on the all-weather. It was well positioned, so you couldn't really say it had any excuses. But again, I just don't think it was enough of a test of stamina. New Business was out in the front, probably dictated it. New Business has run okay since, maybe a little bit disappointing, but I thought he was a bit keen next time out at Sandown, so I wouldn't be too concerned about that. As I say, I just think this horse is crying out for a good, strong mile pace to run at, and I think he'll get that tomorrow, or she'll get that tomorrow, should I say, sorry. I've got her in at 5-1. I don't see her being, I expect her to be around about that price. Realistically, they're not going to take too much of a chance on a Haggis trained, improving 3-year-old filly ridden by Tom Marquand on a Saturday, so I'll be surprised if she's any bigger than that. I think if you could get 11-2, 6-1, I'd back her outright to win. It's probably not one I would entertain each way, this one, unless there was a glaring mistake and she was put in at 7-8-1, which I just think is unlikely, because it is a competitive little race. I mean, you've got the top one just keeps winning and winning. Sparks Fly, quite a bit of a knee action on it, so I think he will want soft ground. I wouldn't be surprised if that doesn't run unless the rain comes, but again, as good as it's been, is it good enough to give the best part of a stone to some improving 3-year-olds? I prefer Don't Tell Claire out of those two personally. Sparks Fly wouldn't really be one that would interest me too much tomorrow, unless it really did kind of rain quite heavily. I thought Maggie's Way had bits and pieces of form, but again, I think there's others were probably stronger. I've got Maggie's Way in around about the 12-1 mark. The bottom one for Rafe Beckett's interesting, Wind in Your Sails. I've got him in around about the 15-2 mark on my book. But again, I'm not sure her 3-year-old form looks as promising as probably Orchid Bloom and Rawaya. So yeah, I would stick with Orchid Bloom, and she'd be the one I'd be interested in there tomorrow. And then finally, the kind of race that could slip under the radar, but the last at Doncaster tomorrow is a very interesting race. I mean, it's a Class 5 handicap at the end of the day, but some really nice pedigree horses in here. It looks full of improvers, to be honest. I probably won't put a tip up in this, but I think there's a couple of comments I'd say though. Heavy rain forecast at Doncaster, I think all day tomorrow. There might even be some today. So 8:45 race as well. This has chances for the ground to completely deteriorate to what we're looking at now. I mean, I think it's soft now at Doncaster, so kind of race 10 runners at the minute. You could get close to the off with this race and there'd be 5 in this, but I think there's some interesting horses in here. The Richard Fahey trained Golden, name escapes me now, but that one. So yeah, it looks like it's crying out for a step up in trip, which it gets tomorrow. I think that could run well. Expect the favourite will probably be the Richard Hannon Graham. He looks like a step up back up to a mile and a half is exactly what this horse wants. Expect him to run well. I've got him at 4-1 favourite. I think the one I'm interested in though is Cosmic Sun, potentially. So, you know, he showed some nice form this. I like the run behind Burglar at Redcar. The run last time was, the form hasn't worked out too well from that last run, if I'm honest, but I just think this horse has got a nice pedigree. You know, the James Horton team, they've obviously had their troubles this year, and the horses have been off the track for a while throughout the earlier weeks of the season due to the ownership issues. But yeah, James Horton's a protege of Michael Stout, so he's going to bring his horses along slowly and quietly anyway. They're going to improve with each run. As I say, I like the pedigree of Cosmic Moon. Some really good horses come out of the dam side of the pedigree for her. I've got her in around about the 9-2 mark. Thought she might run quite well, but I'll probably leave this race for now, though, as I say, because of the time of the race, the weather they've got forecast there. I think it's probably just a one to keep an eye on, but I wouldn't get involved. So just to clarify, 3 tips tomorrow then. 3:40 at Newmarket, Indemnify. So I would say, if we can get 13-2, 7-1, I'd back it each way. But 6-1, 11-2, I'd probably back it to win outright. Metro's on fire at Newmarket in the 5.25. Again, if we can get 11-2, 6-1, I'd probably look at backing it outright. I think that's a fair enough price. If you can get 13-2, 7-1, and maybe even a little bit more, I'd definitely back it each way. He's probably my strongest fancy of the day tomorrow, actually. But again, it's based on the ground staying quite good to firm at Newmarket. And then over at Newbury in the 5.20, Orchid Bloom is the one I'm interested in. Probably look to back this one outright in the win market. I'd probably want 11-2. I think because it is quite a competitive race. I think if you can get 11-2, I'd be interested. 11-2 or bigger. If they were to go 7-1 plus, which is unlikely, then maybe you could back that one each way. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed the day's racing tomorrow. Any comments, questions, anything like that? By all means, put them in the comments box, and I'll get back to you upon when I get the opportunity. So hopefully we can find a few winners. Got today's tip running as well, Cavern Club. So I'm putting this video up before that one's actually run. Notice there's a bit of money around for that one today. So yeah, quite hopeful that he'll run a big race for us. And let's hopefully we'll have a good day's racing tomorrow. And thanks for watching. Okay, cheers. Bye bye.